All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Roberta, we have a great friend of mine, Alfonso Mendoza, who is our next uh, guest. And I can't wait to hear everything he has to say about podcasting. He is a Google innovator. He is the host of My EdTech Live. He has a master's degree, and right now he just started his PhD degree. So let's say bienvenido and welcome to Alfonso Mendoza.
But, but
Oh,
first,
yeah. Yeah.
we
But
talk
first, we
some.
would like, sorry, I'm so excited to listen to Alfonso that I wanted to skip a few considerations right here. Remember, guys, those of you who would like to receive a certificate for watching all these sessions, um, everything will be sent by email by completing the feedback form, of course. Remember, there are three keywords that they will be posted throughout the sessions. It's very important to write down those three words so you can get some gifts or some swags as well by our sponsors. All right. And remember, there are a lot of sessions in Spanish, in Portuguese, as well as in English. All right. Every session will be recorded our YouTube channel. Okay. And we will also um, be using the questions and answers in our chat in YouTube. So let's say welcome to Alfonso Mendoza.
Hola a todos, buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Y es un gran honor y un placer estar aquí participando en esta quinta maratónica con mis amigos aquí mundialmente de Google. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with everybody and just enjoying this time with all these wonderful innovators and trainers and Google educators all over the world. So it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm really excited. Thank you.
Well, my dear Alfonso, the stage is all yours. Thank you for being here, and please enjoy this session.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everybody. I appreciate you. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and just need to share my screen here. All right, there we go. Let me go into full screen. And there is a code there if you want to go ahead and just scan that code there with your phone. That way you can follow along in the presentation. But I'm just excited to be here. And it's an honor again to finally meet Roberta. And of course, my great, great friend, Pedro Aparicio. Thank you so much for everything that you did for me as I also started the innovator journey and all of your advice. And for all the educators that are out there listening, watching, and wanting to learn a little bit more about podcasting and amplifying educator and creator voices, today's presentation is not really going to teach you how to podcast. Really, it's just it should be something that's kind of natural in a way for many of us as we communicate and we share our stories. And of course, we know that during pandemic, we definitely um, had so many stories and so many things that we were going through. And during this time is when I started the podcast called Maya Tech Life. So it's given me the opportunity to amplify educator and creator voices. As you may know, many educators going through so many things all at once, you know, going from brick and mortar all the way now to virtual. And now you're going back and now you're coming back with maybe different learning styles. And it was all something that was very difficult for a lot of us. For a lot of us, we found ourselves like fish in water. It was like second nature. For a lot of us, it was a huge, huge learning that we needed to do. But during this time, to me, I felt it was very important to really amplify and hear from our teachers. As we know, the education landscape is no longer the same. Once COVID hit, it put everybody in a level playing field per se. Everybody came back with the same issues, the same problems all around. So don't feel bad. Trust me, if you right now you guys are feeling like you're struggling, like you're barely there, I feel the exact same way. Teachers here in Texas feel the same way. I'm sure teachers all around the world feel the same way. However, I just want to encourage you to just look within yourself, look and take care of yourself, and just learn from others. Sometimes we want to do everything, and it's hard to do those things, but we can learn from one another's stories, from our different points of view, and so on. So I feel that this show, Maya Tech Live, the podcast, it kind of took a life on its own, where I really wanted to do maybe like tutorials and things of that sort for teachers, but really I was more encapsulated by the teacher stories, their struggles, their successes, their victories, their setbacks, because we can all learn from one another. So, if you want to kind of just follow along here again, I know Pedro gave an introduction. Here's another little introduction. Like Pedro mentioned, I have a master's in educational technology. I'm also honored and just thrilled to also be part of the Google Innovator family with a lot. I see Pili here, and I see Mel, and I know Pedro, and a lot of people here that are just amazing educators. And so I'm excited to be part of that PLF, personal learning family. Again, the host of Maya Tech Life, and just something noteworthy that I love too, that I'm very proud of. I do have a passion for AR VR. So I was named one of the top 50 global edtech influencers in AR VR worth a follow last year, and I'm working on it this year too. But I just, like I said, it just goes with my passion for creativity, amplifying not only student voice, but now educator and creator voice, creating a space, a safe space per se. Although we know that we're all on social media, but again, just a place where people can come and share their stories. So, this is really what we're going to be discussing today. Number one, my creative background, just to give you a brief introduction, my podcasting journey, and of course, the message. Amplify your voice, amplify educator voice, and then encourage those educators around you and those creators around you to share their voice. Because, like my friend Al Thomas always said, or those words resonated with me, and Al Thomas is also a Google innovator, said, there's always somebody waiting for you to do that one thing that can definitely change the trajectory and change their path as to what they're going to do. So, believe it or not, educators, every single one of you out there, whether you're having highs, whether you're having lows, but all those things that you share are of value. Your experience is a valuable one, not only for yourself to look in deep to what it is that's happening, to what it is that's going on. But trust me, it helps others that are around you. And you can definitely change a culture. You can change a person's lens that they see things through, their perspectives. So I want all of you that hopefully after today, you feel encouraged to put yourself out there. And we're going to talk about a couple of things that may hold us back from putting ourselves out there. Okay. But again, today I'm just really excited. And if you have any questions or any comments or anything at all, just feel free to put them in the comment, and, we can have a conversation on those things. So let me go here. So let's ponder on this here real quick. Okay. Amplifying voice is contagious. So let's pass this on. All right. So I'll just go ahead and pause there because the video will just keep looking here. But this is something that I learned right at the very beginning. Again, I mentioned going through my thought process. What I wanted to do through podcasting was really to help teachers, and I had the opportunity to do so with Global G&G, and of course, we all had opportunities to create content, to share content from various platforms that we're using, giving the teachers those tools that they needed. So at the very beginning, it was all right, let's all go in and put all our collective knowledge together and share it. Let's create videos, let's do trainings, let's do one-on-ones, let's help people because this is what they needed. And it was just amazing to see a community of dedicated and passionate educators come together and to help the masses. I mean, we had the global GEG boot camps. We had so many trainings for certifications. The amount of Google level one, level two trainers, excuse me, level one, level two educators and trainers, and then, of course, innovators that came through this because people took a leap. They took that chance on themselves because they knew, like, oh my goodness, I'm getting thrown into this. So might as well just go with it and see where I go. And it was great to see so many people grow. People that were once shy, that were very just to themselves. Now they're amazing connected educators that are thriving and bringing a community together and participating in huge events such as this. And I'm going to use my friend Mel as an example. When I first met Mel, I was the first podcast that she was on, and now I'm sure I can't even, probably can't even count how many podcasts she's been, just on here on my hands alone, because I saw her grow and just become this amazing connected educator with a passion for helping others and sharing information and just really sharing her story and learning where she's coming from, where she's been. But all of that has been of added value to our educator community. And it's something that's contagious because I know that there are other people that see Mel, other people that see Pili, other people that see Pedro that are here, and everybody. I mean, educators around the world, Latin America, everywhere. And the influence that you have just by simply putting yourself out there, again, like I said, they're just waiting for you. People are watching, and then they can just bet on themselves and go for it and become connected educators. So this is something that really, really is contagious. And for me, like I mentioned to you, this is kind of where that podcast started turning into how can we help teachers with these tools? But then I want to connect with teachers. I want to hear their stories. I want to see what it is that they're going through these times, because sometimes there are some things that maybe aren't talked about enough in a district. Maybe there are things that maybe people are afraid to talk about because they may feel insecure. They may feel like, no, this is only happening to me. But when they get the opportunity to hear a Google innovator share maybe one of their fails and sharing their humanity, showing that they're just as vulnerable as anybody else. Just because they have the title of Google innovator does not mean that they don't have that feeling, that human sense, or need that human connection and things of that sort. And I'm going to share a couple of clips with you that have been very memorable, for myself, but also for the community, because you're going to get to see different trains of thought. You're going to get to see the way people process things and the way that education has really changed, because now we have to have those conversations that oftentimes we set aside. But by being connected educators, you're absolutely right, Pedro. We get to see perspectives from all over the world. And believe it or not, the more open you are about these things, the better you become and the better that you can grow. And then you can share those experiences. And like I always tell everybody, you take the good, you take the bad, you kind of look at it, you find the good in everything, and whatever you can take that is a little golden nugget, just sprinkle it on lightly to what you already do great, and something entirely new can come up and something amazing can come up that you can share with the world. So again, it's very important, pass on your experiences. And I highly encourage you, anybody that is here and anybody that is watching or rewatching later, don't be afraid to hit the record button. Even one day you say, like, hey, maybe I want to do this podcasting thing. Maybe you feel like it's difficult, you feel like it's hard, but start by sharing your story, and maybe just take off and hearing other people's stories and find your niche in those areas. But again, don't hold on to your experiences, just to, again, keep them to yourself, because what you do, what you have done, and what you have gone through has added value to an entire community. And you may think yourself, but I'm just one educator here in Latin America. I'm just one educator in the US. I you know, just that small nugget of wisdom can definitely make its way, now that we're connected, in light speed through all social media, and that one person that was waiting for that one thing reads that, picks up on it, and you have just, sparked a flame, you reignited a passion, you just invigorated somebody, and they just come to life because of that one, to you, insignificant thing. It was just like something memorable and amazing for somebody else. So continue to pass this on, amplifying your voice, sharing it, and allow others also to create, or those other creators around you to continue to share as well. So, what can we learn from amplifying voices? I know we just kind of went over that a little bit, but it's just about creating those memorable experiences, guys. For a lot of us, we can share and learn from those stories, add them to our practice, and just kind of say, hey, you know what? I realize that I'm not alone in this. I realize that I'm not the only one going through these things. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share an file. Excuse me. I'm going to share a little video here with you, a video file, because I want you to hear this. And this, for me, was a surprise because oftentimes I'm going to tell you one thing: many people that are educators, if you have a huge following on Twitter, people that are just getting into the Twitter space, people that are just connecting with educators, sometimes can feel like, oh my goodness, look at that person, that educator, that creator right there. They've got it together. They know what they're doing. It's like these guys are just, through the roof, full of talent, and nothing ever goes wrong with them. Well, one of my experiences, it really shocked me when I was interviewing this very well known educator. And I mean, extremely well known. But when I heard him and how he was vulnerable, I was taken back because again, even though, I know this person and I see them on Twitter, I'm one of those that I'm like, wow, look at that. Look at all that they're doing. But in that moment of vulnerability, it just showed just that human aspect that oftentimes when people look at somebody up on Twitter or on any social media that are educators that are putting out content, you really don't realize how often, how many times they have to go through that video, how many edits they have to do through that video. And then on top of that, they may be fathers, mothers, they may be caregivers, they may be so on, and they're just fully swamped, but they're out there putting this out. But I want to share this clip here with you because, again, it was for me a very vulnerable moment in just saying and understanding, like, wow, I thought that everybody had it together, but sometimes. So hopefully we can get the sound here real quick and see if we can get this going. So here we go. If we can put that video in there, let's see. Am I able to do that? I don't know, Pedro, if you
What's
can.
something people might not realize about me? I
Let me rewind this a little bit. Thank you.
asked earlier, what's something people might not realize about me? I struggled last school year. Last school year was really hard for me. I've been a tech coach for 5 years prior to that. This was my first year back in the classroom since 2014 or something like that, being a full-time teacher, not just going in and co-teaching as the tech coach. And before that, my last time teaching science was 2010 or something like that. So it was a really difficult year for me. And I was working my tail off and doing my best, doing all that I could. And when I heard a term thrown around like learning loss, that stung because I'm like, listen, we're doing our best. What the students did last year was just amazing and unreal that they persevered through that really difficult situation they were in. We're like, listen, we're going to do this remote. You're going to be on Zoom. And then sometimes you're going to be in person and some other kids are going to be on Zoom. And then this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And they're like, oh, then you're going to wear your masks.
All right, so that's just a little clip there. If we can go back to the presentation, Pedro. But again, that to me spoke volumes. I mean, you see, it's Jake Miller. I mean, Jake Miller, we see him, he's posting content out. He's got a book out, Creative Educator. And if you see any of his Twitter feeds, you're probably like, man, this guy is a rock star and he has it together. But you just heard that even somebody like Jake Miller, going there into teaching, can find it hard and can find it rough. And that's something that for me, it was like, wow, if I hadn't heard his story, and if I hadn't taken the time to just simply ask, like, hey, what was the most difficult thing for you? Again, it just goes back to being able to give somebody a space. Everybody has a story, but not everybody is fortunate enough to share their story. And each one of you has something that is unique that you have gone through, and we can all learn from that. So, a clip like this, I hope encourages you to, share your experiences as much or as little as you'd like to share when you feel comfortable. But again, it creates that memorable experience for me, for your audience, or even if it's just for your co teacher, if it's for your colleagues that are around you, or somebody within your educator community, that you can share those situations and help build each other up. It creates the learning experiences also. I mean, if you think about it, before all this technology, how was it that we all learned? I mean, it's through storytelling. Everybody's experiences on how to do things. And the amazing thing is that many people can come up with, the same or create something, but each person has a different process, because that's the way they learned it and that's the way it was passed on to them. So they see things from different perspectives. So intercultural exchange, exactly, Pedro. I really love that you're saying. So it's very, very important to do this and give yourself the permission to speak up and speak out and share and allow others and listen to them too as well, because oftentimes, and I'll be honest with you, like even just with my colleagues at work and things like that, sometimes I just want to solve the problem, but I'm not listening to the problem. And sometimes by listening, we do more towards solving the problem than just immediately jumping in. So, amplifying student voice, and of course, through the podcast, I've been able to have so many wonderful guests that have been on here to share experiences on how they're trying to create culture or change culture around them, creating those friendships, and of course creating inspiration for all of those that are around us, all of those that are listening, all of those that we're connected with. If you think about it, every single one of us here is connected by one thing. I mean, for a lot of us, we're connected by education. We're connected because we're either part of GEGs, so we're connected. And of course, just because of the way that social media is, the connections are, even though they are distant, those connections are real. They are real. I mean, talk about the opportunity of having a couple of weeks ago that I had the opportunity to go to TCEA and see some of my guests that I've had on in real life, in person, and it's as if we never even skipped a beat. It's like we have always been friends, because of that connection that either we made through the podcast, because we shared that moment. You're giving that person the opportunity, but because of the exchange in ideas and the exchange in learning that takes place. So that's something that is amazing and that we can all continue to learn from. So let me go ahead and just bring up another clip here too as well, because this clip, it really also, I want you to see how people can really open up, and you really think and see things through different perspectives, and it can always change our way of thinking and the learning that takes place just by listening to their stories. And this is one of my favorite clips because it resonates with me. Number one, I never wanted to be an educator, and I still said, like, I tell the story. I was like, I never ever wanted to go into education, but when I fell into education, I fell in love with everything about education. That it was just kind of like I was meant to be there even though I never wanted to, but it's given me so much and I want to give so much back to the community. But I want you to listen to this clip right here that I will be sharing, because this clip is a former
You're going to
guest,
come
Chris
in, but you're not going to
Bradley.
be around.
Oops, sorry. Let me go ahead and bring that one up right here. And let me open that. And it'll be that one right there with Chris.
Education is it's a shot of adrenaline that never runs out, ever. And I liken it to the words. If you ever sit back and listen to the words of Jukebox Hero, it's kind of my theme song for education. I found that lone guitar in a secondhand store. My second career, my what was supposed to be my first career. I found my purpose, and when that guitar is in my hands, or this education is in my hands, I'll make it light up, but my light never goes off, and that's the powerful thing.
All right, thank you. So if you heard him, Chris, an amazing educator, an amazing friend, and just the way he describes this was his second career to him, just like education is a second career to me. But to hear him, just the way he feels about education and the way he likens it to this song, and it's a shot of adrenaline and the passion. And he says, the light never goes off. For him, that's something that is amazing, and that's the way that a lot of us are. The light never goes off. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, the light just feels like it's dimming a little bit. As for many educators, obviously it has been, a tough couple of years. But when you get to listen to someone's story, and when I hear these clips and I revisit these clips, sometimes I go back and revisit because it helps me. And then I get to see, like, wow, like, there are people out there that are doing some very powerful things, and it just motivates me to just go from maybe a not so good day to an even better day, because now I want to bring that energy, because now I know that I'm not the only one going through this. And it's just great to note that, as difficult a time as we may be going through, you know, there's somebody out there that has gone through it or is going through it, but it just really helps you. So, through the power of podcasting, this is what I've been able to do, to reach out, to listen to people. And again, creating that space to share those stories. And again, because oftentimes we may not feel that psychological safety, just sometimes even within our work colleagues, maybe within our administrators, there may not be that psychological safety. But I tell you what, there is a group of educators just like you that are out there that are willing to listen and are willing to have you share their story and you be the star of the show. Because, like I said, everything that you have to share is definitely something valuable. And again, it creates all of this that we see here, those memorable experiences, the learning experiences, the culture, the friendships, and the inspiration. And that can go a long way. And that's something that, for us as educators, can fuel us to continue to move forward and going hard, each and every single day. So, and I'm going to show you a couple of more clips too that I really enjoy and I like, because you'll see different lenses. You'll see people that are passionate, that just bring that energy. And then you see people that bring in those topics and those crucial conversations that say, hey, there's some things that need to change and so on. And that we can continue to learn from them. But through the podcasting, number one, I've always been a big fan or proponent of amplifying creativity. And for me, I know I put creativity here, even though we're talking about podcasting, but to me, storytelling is creativity to me. I mean, just to be able to, for you to share your story with your experiences and so on, you can create a space. You're creating a story. You're creating that imagery for a lot of us to kind of think about and really dive into what you're saying, to really be part, and it becomes that learning experience that is not just something superficial that just falls in one ear and out the other. But storytelling has that power of you listening, you're chewing on the information, and then you're just bringing it back. And then at some point, it even becomes a part of you. And this kind of ties to the way that I love to teach or to train teachers, is to say, hey, what we're teaching should not be just at the superficial level, but the learning experience that you give should be something that is internal, that the students can take with them from year to year. So the mission through my EdTech life, is always just to inspire others to share and amplify their voices. And believe it or not, I'm not doing anything special that you guys aren't able to do. If it's just there within your local community, within yourself, within your group of teachers, or if you actually decide to just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go all out and click record and have somebody here and just ask questions and so on. That really, you're amplifying voice, you're inspiring others to share, and you're giving them that safe space that they otherwise may not have anywhere else. And my what I've been able to do, excuse me, also through the power of podcasting is oftentimes we see those educators that are doing some great things and that are out there and they're everywhere. But what I like to do too, as well as I love, and I've had them as guests and so on, and everybody's been kind. But it's been sometimes the amazing thing is the people that are you're seeing that are doing great things, but maybe they feel like, wow, you want me as I was like, yeah, I want you as a guest, but I don't, don't worry about those numbers. I'm not, looking at how many follows you have. I'm not looking at how many likes you get or things that you're posting. What I'm looking at is that what you are putting out there is actually helping me or teaching me. And now I want to share that with others that may feel that this is amazing. So that's the mission, just reaching out to anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter what level of educator you are, whether you're 25-year veteran with 10,000 followers and you have a verified check mark, or if you're just new on Twitter and you have 10 followers, but you're putting out some amazing things that people deserve to know and just to share. That's what we're all about, and that's what we should always strive to do. Give that opportunity to everybody, because everybody's story and everybody's experience can help, no matter at what level you feel that you may be at. And the vision, of course, just put your voice out there. So I want to challenge you all, and I know that many of you here are great at you know um sharing, and you're sharing on social media and so on. But it's okay also to not just share the education stuff. It's okay to go out there and maybe ask some questions. Sometimes we may have those difficult questions and you want to know, maybe just some answers because you want to know how other people are doing. Maybe you just kind of want to gauge where you're at as far as your education spectrum and where you want to go or where you want to be. But it's very important that you just put yourself out there and not be afraid. And we'll talk a little bit about that right now. But the passion to give educators a space to share. And I think you're seeing that this message resonates. It's the same thing I keep saying, and I've probably said it 10 different times in 20 different ways, or vice versa, 20 different ways or 20 different times in 10 different ways. But I want to give you your space. I want to give you your space, not just to come in and show me a tool. I don't want to give you your space just to come in and show me your book, what you're writing on. No, I want to give you a space where you can just you open up and really dive in and dive deep, just like you saw those two clips. You saw one clip of Jake Miller being vulnerable, and you saw my friend Chris Bradley also be vulnerable in that clip, and it's kind of two different sides, but their stories and they're true. And so you can kind of see where we're going with that. And the message for everybody has a story. Every single one of you. And like I mentioned at the beginning, it does not matter your background. It does not matter your experience. It does not matter, where you feel that you are at. Anything and all things that you do and that you have experienced are great assets to the community around you. We are a community of learners. We are lifelong learners, because if we weren't, we probably wouldn't be here right now watching this marathon or watching, just this presentation. We're here because we are interested maybe a little bit in the podcasting, maybe in more of this message of how to amplify your own voice, educator voice, creator voice. But we're all here for maybe a slightly different reason, but I hope that the message that you're getting here is each one of you has a story, and I'm looking forward to hearing it and learning from each and every single one of you. So let's go ahead and continue here with the next presentation. So what can you do? Really, it's just simply share, like I've told you. So that's probably the 21st time that I said this, and now I'm doing it in the 11th different way. But there's no formula for it, no secret, no methodology. There's nothing to it. I know people out there that, oh, I want to grow my feeds. I want to do this. This is the way I got to post. Be yourself, guys. Be yourself. Be honest and be true to who you are. That is the most important thing. Just share with people where you're at, as far as instruction, where, or excuse me, as your level of education, maybe how you are feeling, maybe, a victory, maybe there was a slight setback. If you want to share those things, trust me, we look for resiliency. I mean, I'm always looking on my feed and I see people that are openly sharing, that are just so honest. And I'm like, it's so refreshing to hear honesty. Many times it's like everybody seems like, man, this person really has it together. Everything that they have is just solid. It's golden. It's just genius. Uh, but then, you see the other people that might be on the other side. And sometimes that can be refreshing because it's like, wow, this person's being real. This person's struggling, or, hey, you know what? This person's doing great. I want to learn from them. I want to follow them. And again, for each and every single one of you that are here today, that are present, that I see you here in the chat, you guys are all people that I follow. Why? Because of the amazing things that you are doing. And then we become connected. And to me, I consider you, when we connect and I click follow and I follow you, like, to me, automatically, you're part of my PLF, my personal learning family. And I'm just glad that I get to see your stuff on my feed day in and day out, because I know that I'm going to learn something. I know that there's going to be a takeaway. Is it going to be all the time? Maybe not, because we have those off days, but that's okay, because then I can see, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to check up on them and just throw out a quick, like, hey, how are you? Things of that sort. Because even though we may be miles apart, or, kilometers apart, countries apart, and so on, because of the power of social media, you can still build up that connection. And again, when we do get the opportunity to meet in real life, I mean, it's as if we've known each other for years. So just continue to share and don't doubt yourself. So here are some tips, and I call them creation tips, but these are just create tips for you to just putting yourself out there. Number one, avoid imposter syndrome. Don't ever look down upon yourself. Don't ever think that you are not at a certain level. Don't ever think that, man, nobody really cares. Nobody's going to want to listen to me. Imposter syndrome really, and that's the biggest thing when, doing the Google Innovator project. Man, that imposter syndrome hits when you're Google Innovator, because you see the people that went before you and you're like, how can I do that? And then I'm like, man, my project maybe is not that good. But you know what? Everybody's got a different view, and everybody's got, just a different way of learning or seeing things and perspectives and so on. But just avoid the imposter syndrome. And I want to throw a shout out to my friend Stuart from the UK. I know he's probably asleep right now, but he actually said something that I had never heard before, because imposter syndrome is kind of like looking at somebody and being like, man, I'll never get to that level. You're like reaching for them. But my friend Stuart, in a chat, he said average Joe syndrome. And I was like, average Joe syndrome? And I was like, yeah, when you can get there, and you're equipped to do that, but you just don't, you just kind of hold back. So I thought that that was something that was for me, it just blew my mind. So you've got that imposter syndrome, and then you can think of yourself as that average Joe syndrome, where I know I've got the tools and I know I can do that easily, but I'm just kind of like not doing it for some reason. Like you're holding yourself back. And then imposter syndrome is when you're like, oh man, I don't have the tools. I can't get to that. That's just too much. So just kind of some things to think about when you are just looking at yourself day in and day out. Just self-reflect. And that's something that is so important. Take time to reflect on your practice, take time to reflect on yourself. Again, it's important that you go out there and even reach out, guys. Reach out to friends, shoot ideas off of each other and so on. So that's one thing too. Practice, not perfection. You don't have to be perfect when you're sharing a story, guys. Believe me, you don't have to be like myself or maybe others that, will do a video like 10 different times because we want to get it right the first time. I've kind of taken that pressure off of myself many times, or actually like maybe well over a year ago when I first started the podcast, because there are people out there that spend so much time on the production. Like they'll finish a podcast and they go and make cuts and they're using a software to take this off and take that off and so on. And then by the time they release the podcast, it's already like a month or 2 months, 3 months, and so on. So I really just said, you know what? I just want people to know me for who I am. And I want it to be raw, those raw conversations. Like, yes, this is the way it sounded. Yes, did I happen to stutter? Did I happen to cough? Did I happen to just say something incorrectly? That's okay because I'm being real, because it's all about, for myself, being genuine, being myself, and allowing my guests to give themselves the permission to be themselves. And you can translate that into the real world too, as well, guys. Allowing people to just be themselves, give them that comfort level. Think about it. Many of us, we go to school, we work, we feel like we don't have that psychological safety Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, 8 to 5, or 7:30 to 5, whenever school lets out. But if you just allow yourself to just be yourself, be genuine, and those around you just to be themselves and be genuine, definitely really helps. So again, don't worry about the perfection when you're putting yourself out there. It's all about your ideas. I want to know the real you. I want to connect with you. I want to find that one thing that says, yeah, that person, that comment, that tweet, that connects with me. And that's something that's very important. And also push yourself creatively, guys. Many of you that are here, put your stuff out there, start conversations based on what you're creating. Something very important, something very great, things that you're doing, victories, little failures, setbacks, things of that sort. Again, just put it out there. Okay. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. So what I want to do here, as far as podcast episodes that I recorded so far, I've done 102 episodes so far since April 10th of 2020. 102 episodes. I'm recently on a break right now because I'm actually rebranding. So I'm coming back in March with a slightly different look for my podcast and different, feel. If you've guys seen my Twitter feed, you kind of saw like what's coming a little bit there as far as my logo and everything. So just a little bit of rebranding and some learning, personal stuff that I'm learning more on my passion for AR, VR. But 102 episodes in, and again, just being very genuine. So let me share a couple of more videos here with you, just so I can tell you and share with you just the level of what I do and how people really open up. They really just feel like, man, I really need a space to share these things. So let me share this clip here with you. Let me see. I want to do, oh, here. This is from an administrator. So let's go ahead and open this one up right here. And we'll pop that up.
Academic administrator can say that your students probably have a better understanding of you as a teacher and your abilities and your shortcomings and the things you need to work on than your academic administrator. I might watch a teacher teach 2-3 times a semester, and I do pride myself on watching my teachers and staying for a whole lesson and giving thoughtful feedback, because it's important that I'm engaged wholeheartedly with that because I value what they're doing. But those students are there every day watching everything and they see it all, and they're just professional learners.
So right there, guys, did you catch that? I mean, this is great. Hearing this from an administrator is just so refreshing because again, you're seeing things through a different lens. Oftentimes we see administrators, they come and, they're checking off the compliance pieces, things that need to be done. But here we see like he flipped the script, essentially saying, they are the professional learners getting feedback from kids. And that challenge is there. And oftentimes, for a lot of teachers, we don't think about that. We take feedback from another colleague, we take feedback from our principal, we take feedback from any form of other administrator. But have we ever taken the time to take feedback from our kids? Is it something that we've just never thought about, or is it something that we're just really scared of? Think about it. As the years go by, K through 12, if you're a fifth grade teacher, your students have already seen 4 years worth of teachers, and they know what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and they can definitely give you guys some feedback on that from those kids. But again, if I hadn't had this episode and get an administrator that has this type of view, I would have never learned that and those concepts, because it's so refreshing. And for a lot of people, this could be something that is very useful to them as they continue to grow. And yeah, it's very scary. I agree with you, Pilly. It's very scary, but it can also be very, very rewarding. One of the things too that I like is you can tell some people are just extremely honest and really passionate. So I'm going to show you here the what you can hear and what you can learn when you allow people this space to just really open up and share their thoughts and ideas. Because again, even though it sounds like, ooh, that sounds a little harsh, but sometimes we need to hear that a little bit of harsh. So let me go ahead and share with you here, Gabriel's clip right here. Oh, let me see. Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I need to take off one of these videos. Remove. Let me go ahead and add it real quick. Here we go. There we go with Gabriel. If we can get that one.
Go with your heart and go with your gut. If it feels right, do it. I mean, if you have a passion for working with exceptional students in the means of special ed or gifted or 504, because maybe you have a personal attachment to that, then by all means, go for it. If your passion is working with those second language learners, those ESL students, then do what feels right. Do what's going to make you come home at night and say, I can check off the box for today because I know that I did what I was supposed to do, what I was put on here to do, and I did it well. So if it feels right, do it. Don't follow the fads. Don't get into admin because everyone else around your circle is getting into admin if it doesn't feel right. Do what is going to make you happy and do what's going to make you feel good in your heart.
So there you go. Some truth from Gabriel Carrillo right there, as well. As you can see, just being honest and seeing things from different perspectives. Gabriel, again, sharing his perspective as he's an instructional coach. He's been a principal. I believe he was an AP also as well, and served in several roles. But again, just being able to pass on that knowledge, hearing his story can help motivate others to just make sure that, hey, am I following my right path? Am I following the really my passion, or am I just kind of going through the motion and just kind of moving on up just because everybody else is doing it? And oftentimes, we run with the crowd, and oftentimes we need people like Gabriel to say, hey, like, is it something you really want to do? Or is it something that you're doing just because everybody else is doing it? So again, the power of sharing voice here as well. And the next one I want to share here is Daphne. Daphne is an amazing educator, and I ask people what their kryptonite is. Would you say is your kryptonite?
So I thought about this, and I think right now there is a big discussion on learning gaps or learning loss, or a lot of focus on what our kids can't do as a result of not having been in school for 18 months. We can't expect miracles from these kids who have not been in a traditional learning space, and especially our youngest learners. This may be their first sort of real or normal, I don't like that word, but year at school. And look how different it is. Our focus needs to be on building our community.
So there you go. So again, just something that is great there, seeing her perspective, building that community. And this is something that I remember when Pedro was on the show too. Pedro shared how he built community right from the very beginning as going into remote teaching. And that's something that's so important. You're setting those expectations. But like I said here, Daphne got to share her experience. And oftentimes, we as educators have so many great ideas. We have all been prepared or have gone through a preparation program to do these things, but oftentimes it's kind of like, oh man, like why don't they listen? Or administrators and things of that sort. And we all have to build that community and we all have to have that space, but oftentimes, you know just listening to somebody and having these conversations can definitely help people, and then just to inspire others to continue the work, because the education landscape will no longer be the same as it was back prior to March 13th 2020, when everything shut down. And I think oftentimes we're fighting to get back to those days, but we need to adapt to the here and now, and we need to continue to move forward. And yeah, just continue to move forward, but do through learning from each other and these stories. That's really one of the main things that we need to do. So we have about 9 minutes left, I know, but hopefully you got the presentation. In the presentation, you can also get all the Facebook links, Twitter, Instagram, and podcast, and so on. And check out our episodes, guys. Visit our webpage, myedtech.life, and then you can get to hear the full episodes. And there's going to be something for everybody there. You're going to see things for administrators. You're going to see things for teachers. You're going to see things for creators and all of the ideas. But I guarantee you, through the podcast, guys, you'll take one or two or three little golden nuggets that you can go ahead and add to your practice to continue to just reflect on your current practice too as well. But just take those little golden nuggets, sprinkle them onto what you already do great, and just roll with it. But guys, my last thing, put yourself out there, share. Your story helps me. Your story is going to help other educators. Your story is going to help all of those educators that we are connected with, guys. Don't be scared. Anímense, compartan sus historias, que es algo muy importante, porque quiero decirles a todos mis amigos de habla hispana, todos tienen una historia, y su historia es algo tan valioso y es una herramienta valiosa para toda nuestra comunidad de educadores, que cada uno de nosotros podemos seguir aprendiendo del uno al otro para mejorar el sistema educativo. Y esa es nuestra meta, darles la mejor posibilidad a nuestros estudiantes. We want to give our students the best opportunity. So share your passion, share your voice, and let's have these conversations. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Me encanta tu humildad con la que te diriges a los compañeros docentes, tanto de manera local como de manera internacional. Yo creo que eso es vital, ¿no? Mostrar siempre esa humildad y esa pasión por querer aprender y enseñar a la vez todo lo que va transcurriendo a lo largo del tiempo. I think I feel blessed, Roberto, and I feel blessed to have you here as a special guest. Alfonso, we follow you on social media to know what you're doing. I know you're doing a tremendous and very important job out there, not just locally in your district in Texas, but now globally speaking. Right, Roberta?
Sure. Thank you so much for your session, for your passion, for the things you share with us. I think it's very important to us to reflect about our vocation, our job, and have courage enough to use our voice.
Yes, absolutely. So I definitely encourage you all Again, I'm humbled. I'm honored. Pedro, thank you. Roberta, thank you. I want to thank everybody at the Maratonica, everybody that's helped to participate, all of you educators that are out there. Really, from the bottom of my heart, I'm really thankful because, like I said, I never ever wanted to go into education, but I fell in love with education once I got into it. But it's because I have such a great community that I can continue to learn with. And just like Pedro was saying, it's amazing to be able to learn and want to share at the same time. And that's what keeps me going. And I just love hearing people's stories. Thank you so much.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in our sixth international marathon soon. So I can't find any words to express uh, how much we were blessed to have you here today. And thank you. Have a great afternoon, night in Texas, and see you around.
Gracias a todos. Un saludo y un abrazo grandísimo de aquí desde el
Un
estado de
abrazo
Texas a todos.
fraterno.
Muchísimas gracias, Alfonso, de verdad.
Gracias.
Chao.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Tomorrow we will have only a Spanish session in GG Mexico channel, okay? And then we will see you there in another channel. Thank you so much.
And tomorrow
Bye.
is our last day, okay? Don't miss it. Bye bye.